بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله لا نبي بعده. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحابته وكل من تبع هداه واستمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله تعالى في كتابه الجليل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة خلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected brothers and sisters, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning for this opportunity. Once again, Allah give us this blessing. And we are almost towards the end of the year of the Hijrah. Inshallah, on time we're going to talk about Hijrah, we're going to talk about New Year in Al-Islam. But tonight, I'm going to continue my discussion on the importance for the Muslim community in the West, including here in the United States, to prepare future generation. And one of the most essential part of that preparation is about marriage itself. And in the last session, as the first part of this discussion about marriage, we talk about why marriage is such an important thing in Islam, what are the requirements, how to find a spouse, and so on and so forth. And so tonight I'm going to begin the discussion on how to establish a successful marriage in the Islamic perspective. Certainly, this is not new for some of you who have heard me speaking at any marriage ceremony or any wedding event, because this point had been delivered different times, many times in different places or on different occasions before. So tonight is just kind of repetitions, just a reminder for all of us what are the paths, what are the steps that we have to take or to undertake in order to preserve our Islamic marriage, in order to establish a strong Muslim family, and how to protect the Islamic marriage itself. In the last session, I think I mentioned briefly that marriage is considered an important ibadah in Islam. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you a righteous spouse, certainly for the wife a righteous husband, and for the husband a righteous wife. And then Allah subhanahu Rasulullah sallam, underlined an important point by saying, فَقَدْ اسْتَكْمَلَ نِصْفَ الدِّينِ. Verily, indeed, he had fulfilled half of the religion. Now, why that marriage is considered fulfillment half of the religion? Normally, I answer to this question into this reasoning that marriage is considered an important part of the ibadah or deen, or fulfillment of the deen, because deen itself or religion itself is about responsibilities. When we understand religion as life, religion is not only about salat or zakat or psalm, it's about our life. There is a misunderstanding among some Muslims who tend to understand Islam being as just, a bunch of regulations and obligations and Yes, of course. But more importantly, we have to understand our deen as our life itself. So basically, our deen had been given, to guide us how to live our life. And so when we connect deen into our life, then we know that life is about responsibilities. And so deen must be responsibilities. Now, why then marriage is considered half of the religion? Because responsibilities are divided into two sections, two divisions. Number one is private and personal responsibilities. You are Muhammad or Abdullah or Umar. You are individually responsible. You pray, you're responsible individually. You do fasting, responsible individually. When you do Hajj, that's your responsibility. It's an individual responsibility. But marriage itself had been a bridge for a person into being responsible as an individual into a collective responsibility. And so istikmalu nisfuddin, fulfillment half of the religion through the marriage, means that the person is ready to fulfill the half of that responsibilities, because yesterday before the marriage, he was responsible individually, half. So there's a half individual responsibilities, and the half ones are public or social responsibilities. So let's go now to what are the steps that we have to have in order for the marriage to be successful. In order for someone to have a solid marriage. In the last session, I mentioned also briefly that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that tunkahul mar'atu li arba'. A woman is married for four reasons. For four reasons. It can be for beauty. Yes, nothing wrong with that. You can find someone who is the most beautiful woman or the most handsome man as your future wife or husband. That's fine. It is one of the criterion that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. Or maybe limaliha, because of the wealth. She's a rich person, mashallah. That's fine too. Nothing wrong with that. Or linasabiha, because of the lineage, family thing, respectful family. That's also fine. But then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, walidiniha, because of her deen. Fadfar lidhati din. Even take deen into your consideration even more seriously. Taribat yadak. You're going to be successful. In other words, that one of the main important foundation for a successful marriage is that we have that deen involved. From the process of finding spouse, religion had been taken into that consideration. Then what are the steps then? Number one, the importance of the motives. I mean, I used to ask this question to the couple. When I officiate marriage and I deliver my sermon, my khutbatun nikah, the advice for the couples, normally I mention this, that from now on, you have to ask these questions, and this question is fundamental. That question is, why do I marry? Why I accept her to be my wife? Why I accept him to be my husband? That questions must be answered. And the answer to that question will determine the future steps in your life. The answer to that questions will influence the way you conduct your family. So if the answer is, I accept her because she's beautiful, yeah, you got it. She's beautiful. If the answer for you, ladies, because he is handsome, yes, you may have gotten it. You got it. He is handsome. Nothing wrong with that. Intention with that, motives. But is it the real intention for the Muslim to do something in life, including marriage? Certainly not. Because we know in Al-Islam that the intention for us, or the intention for living this life is, as Allah mentioned in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I did not create jinns and humans except to worship me. Now, the word worship is very important to be taken into consideration. And so that marriage itself is a part of that worship. And therefore, marriage is considered an important part of worship. وَفِي وُضْعِ أَحَدِكُمْ صَدَقَةً. Even in husband-wife relations, according to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, is a part of that charity, is a part of worship. So if the purpose is to worship, that's what we call an-niyah, the intention. Unfortunately, once again, I repeat this many times before, that Muslims misunderstand the word an-niyah. Sometimes an-niyah or intention is defined as the ground to do only for rituals. So you have the intention to pray, you have the intention to do salat, you have the intention to do fasting, you have the intention to give zakat, you have the intention to do hajj, only for rituals. In fact, niyat is fundamentally needed in every single thing that we do on every aspect of our life. Even when you eat food, you ask that question, what is the intention for me to eating this food? If your intention is only to fulfill your stomach, to fulfill your desire, you get it. You know, in America, you get it. You have $10, you can go to somewhere, you can have a good food. But if your intention is only to fulfill your stomach, you get it. You want to sleep, just to fulfill your desire because you're sleepy. So you want to sleep, you get it. But is it the real intention for the Muslim to live their life? No. So our intention is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this worship. And therefore, marriage must be intended for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once someone is married for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then everything will follow. Beauty will follow. Respect for family will follow. Wealth will follow. Money will follow. Popularity will follow. Everything will follow if you have the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And more importantly, when you have that intention to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your marriage, and then that will strengthen, empower your connection. Why? Because your connection, your relationship between husband and wife is not based on physical and material connection alone. I don't mean that it's not important. For why you have to be, to be seen beautiful to your husband, and husband also you have to be dedicated to your wife. But here we're not talking about only physical and material connection. But you have even more important beyond that physical and material relations, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. And that basis will unbreakable, is unbreakable. Nothing can break it. When you marry someone for the intention, you marry her because she's beautiful, it might be that in a few years, 10 years, or maybe even less than 10 years, physical things change. The beauty will change. So should you change that relationship with your wife simply because your wife changed physically? Certainly not. Why? Because for Muslims, our marriage is not only for physical purpose, not only for material purpose, but more importantly to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah never change. Allah remain forever. That will strengthen the marriage because of that right intention. So the first foundation for any marriage to be successful, that you have to have a right intention. Wrong intention will lead you into wrong actions. Right intention, inshallah, will lead you into right intention. This will influence the way you manage the family. About children education, for example. If your intention is just to establish this family for physical purposes, for dunya purposes, you get it. Send your children to the best high school, then your children will get admitted into the best universities. After studying at that best university, your children are going to get a great jobs or career, or maybe they're going to establish their own companies. You got it, if that is the intention. But Muslim family is not only based on material and physical purposes, though our intention must be corrected. Jaddidu niyatikum, renew your intention. This is the first one. And it's one of the most important because this determines the way you conduct your family. Number two, brothers and sisters, learning is a life process. Learning is a life process. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Utlab al-ilm min al-mahd ila al-lahad." Seek knowledge from cradle into the graveyard. There is no end into seeking knowledge. It doesn't have any end. We must continue learning. Now, when we come to the family, husband and wife relation particularly, it also needs knowledge. Nothing can we achieve in life without knowledge. Man arada dunya fa'alayhi bil ilm. If you want this dunya, you have to have knowledge. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةِ. If you want akhirat, then you have to have knowledge. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ هُمَا. If you want to be successful, to be happy in both dunya and akhirah, then فَعَلَيْهِ بِالْعِلْمِ. You have to have knowledge. So knowledge is the foundation, including in the family life. And one particular thing that I'd like to mention in terms of this knowledge is about knowing your spouse. The knowledge about spouse itself. Who is my wife? Who is my husband? Why my wife, we have to learn what is the psychological tendencies of your wife or husband. Even in terms of food. What do you like, what she doesn't like? Then you have to adjust yourself for that. So again, knowledge is necessary. It is required for any marriage to be successful. When you live under the same roof in 24 hours, you need to manage your relationship. Because before living at the same house or in the same house under the same roof in 24 hours, then everything is sweet, everything is honey. But the moment you live together under the same roof, you feel the life is normal, man. Everything is normal. It is not extraordinary anymore. Everything is ordinary. And because of that, then sensitivities are easily happening. There's a sensitive feeling sometimes. So unless you learn how to manage those differences between yourselves, then possibly it will end into some arguments or disputes or even fights happens between the couples. So again, it is very important to learn to one another. If you come to the Holy Quran, in fact, any public relations between individuals in the society, that relations are in need of what we call ta'aruf. So Allah says, for example, in Surah Al-Hujurat, Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. O mankind, verily created you from a male and a female. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلًا. And we have made you into many nations and tribes. لِتَعَارَفُوا. So that you get to know one another. Now, the word getting to know one another is very crucial when we come to the issue of human relations. And the first ever human relation, serious human relation, is even the most important human relation is about the relations of a husband and a wife. So ta'aruf is needed. And ta'aruf is not before the marriage. Some of our youngsters, young brothers and sisters, they misunderstand that ta'aruf is needed before the marriage. If you depend on the ta'aruf before the marriage, you're going to fail. Because before the marriage, the process of ta'aruf sometimes is not genuine. Your future husband, mashallah, pretend to be the most nice person. Your future wife also will be pretending the most nice lady, because that's what ta'aruf is all about before the marriage, just to attract the other side. But when you have become a husband and wife, there is no more that purpose of attracting one another. You are already one body, basically. Libas to one another. You are a garment to one another. Two individuals in one, existence, if I may say in that way, become one as a one body. And so again, ta'aruf is necessary, and this ta'aruf is a life process. When you develop that ta'aruf knowledge between one another, then you are going to have that an understanding easily. So if anything happened to one side of the couple, let's say the husband is coming home and then no smile, no talk, then the wife will study, will learn how to react and how to respond to that situation. Should the husband even deepens that situation, worsen it, or try to intervene so that the difficulties and the challenges that your husband is facing out there can be calmed down, can be minimized because of the wife's knowledge about how to handle such a situation. That's about learning about your spouse. When the husband coming home and you find your wife is not talking, not smiling, then you have to learn what's going on. Do not just take it for granted. The point here, brothers and sisters, I don't want to be prolonged. I just wanted to say that knowledge is such an important thing in the family. Knowledge in everything. But one of the crucial knowledge is about knowing one another as a husband and wife. Number 2. Number 3, the Arabic word of husband and wife is called zawjun. Zawj. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create everything in pair. There's the translation of the word zawj, it is pair. So there's a husband, there's a wife, there's a male, there's a female, there's a day and night, heaven, earth, sun, moon. You will find everything here in this universe with pair. Now, the Arabic language of that is zawjun. And zawj basically has a connotation of partnership. In other words, there is a joint hand, there's a cooperation, there's a partnership. And so in facing the challenges of life, the best way for the husband and wife to do is to partner. And everything else in life is a partner. It's about partnership. Oftentimes I mentioned this about the education of the children at home, and oftentimes for the brothers who are working outside of the house, and it happened that the wife is not working, just stay home mom. Sometimes we feel that the responsibility of education is on the shoulder of the mother. And I think that notion is wrong. The right thing is that both sides must share that responsibility. So this life is about sharing. So everything is about sharing when it comes to the husband and wife. Happiness must be shared. Joy must be shared. Difficulties and challenges also must be shared. That's what the Quran mentioned. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. They are, your wives, a garment for you, and you are males or men, a garment for them. Now, what is the meaning of garments? Number 1, garment, certainly something to cover. But in order for that garment to cover, it means that garment must be fitting. That is why in the store there are fitting room, right? In order for you to fit yourself with the garments. What does it mean? The husband and wife, there are adjustment here. Psychological adjustment, attitude, character adjustments, the ways of speaking adjustments. Everything is about adjustment so that we can become like libas. Because if you're not, fitting to one another, it is difficult to be libas to one another. It is difficult to be a garment to one another if there is not some adjustments in life. And so again, coming back, the point I'd like to underline here that it is very important to adjust ourselves so that we can build partnership, cooperation between the couple, husband and wife. Responsibilities on husband quite a lot because he must provide. You can imagine with the pressure of life at the moment, how a husband is struggling to pay the mortgage or the rent, to pay the insurance, to pay the bills, to provide, some monetary thing to the family, and so on and so forth. It's not easy for the man. But it's not a reason for the husband then to underline the role of the mother, who plays such an important role at home, cleaning the home, preparing food for the kids, preparing the kids to go to school, the first one to wake up in the morning, and so on and so forth. There are many things. So my point here is that this life is about sharing. And a wife and a husband must be sharing those responsibilities of life. The last point tonight is, there are many points that I'm going to mention, and just wanted to remind you that this is the second part of this topic. But for tonight, I'm going to end with this point, and that is the importance of appreciation. Appreciation. Now, what is appreciation? Appreciation means, number one, acknowledging that none of the two sides or both sides is perfect, neither the husband nor the wife. And therefore, both are there to perfect one another. So acknowledge that we have a lot of shortcomings. We are not perfect, and therefore our spouse is there to make us perfect. But number two, acknowledge the existence of what the other side can share with you. Do not underestimate what the other side can share. So humbleness is, as you may know, what they call in Arabic language at-tawadu', and it is humbleness, being, having that humility in life, is a human character, it's a noble human character. But that humbleness must start at home between the couples, because that is one of the most important foundation for the family to establish solid. There will be a sense of appreciation that each side can do something and can contribute to our family so that we can establish a solid family. It is enough for tonight, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to guide us and strengthen our faith and continue to protect our family. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve our generation with continual iman and Islam, inshallah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grow them with taqwa and righteousness. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.